As a real estate agent, I often talk to people who really want to buy a home, but just can't afford it. And with high home prices, elevated interest rates, and an overall housing shortage, finding affordable housing has become increasingly difficult for many families in our community. But despite these challenges, there's an organization whose sole focus is to make home ownership a reality for those who might otherwise not be able to achieve it. Habitat for Humanity has been a lifeline for many families in Newberg, offering not just homes, but affordable solutions to home remodels as well. And while you've likely heard of Habitat for Humanity, you might not be fully aware of how they work or the programs they offer. Today, I'm joined by Shannon Selah, who is the Executive Director of Newberg's Habitat for Humanity. Shannon will be sharing how Habitat for Humanity works, how they go through the difficult process of selecting families for their building program, why the work is so important, and what is in store for the future. We'll also be discussing the Restore location, some exciting new projects coming up, and some newer programs to help more families in Newberg. Hi, I'm Daniel Roberts, host of the Giving Town podcast, where we share stories about the people and organizations that make Newberg so great. This podcast is brought to you by my real estate team, the Joyful Roberts Group. We love serving this town and our amazing clients, and we'd be happy to help you with buying or selling a home anywhere around the Newberg area. If you're interested, you can learn more about us at thejoyfulrobertsgroup.com. We also have the Living in Newberg YouTube channel where you can learn all about what it's like living in Newberg. Well, thanks for tuning in to this episode, and I hope you enjoy this conversation with Shannon about Habitat for Humanity. Shannon, thanks for joining me on the Giving Town podcast today. I look forward to getting the word out about Habitat for Humanity, which actually I did several years ago. I don't know if it's several or a few, whatever it is, with Rick, who is then the executive director and the mayor. But that focused more on like the city of Newberg, and we kind of touched on Habitat for Humanity. So I'm looking forward to having an episode that's actually about Habitat for Humanity and what you guys do in the community. So thanks for being here today.
You're welcome.
For people who aren't familiar, maybe some people have seen the Restore or they just kind of have heard the name, don't really know what it is. Can you give an overview of what exactly Habitat for Humanity is, what it does, and how long it's also been in Newberg?
Yeah, so Newberg Area Habitat for Humanity is an affiliate of Habitat for Humanity International, and we have a main office and a Restore here in Newberg. And basically, our affiliate was incorporated in the state of Oregon in March of 1994, and so we've been going 30 years.
Wow, 30 years this year.
Yeah. So in that span of time, we've built or rehabilitated 30 homes, and we're working on our 31st and 32nd homes right now. And we're excited to be building our capacity at the moment. We just finished a strategic plan, and we're looking to do even more in the community than we have in the past.
So how does that work? If someone is you do about one home a year, right? So someone wants a home built, how does that actually work? So for someone who doesn't know what Habitat for Humanity is, do you build homes for people, or do people come and there's a lot of people applying and then they get selected based on different criteria? How does that all work?
Yeah. So first we have to find the land. For a couple years around the COVID era, we were short on land and had a hard time finding places to build. So we now have a couple of lots in our possession, and the people that we're looking to serve are local families. They have to be within our service area: Newberg, Sherwood, Dundee, St. Paul, and Dayton. And they have to be in the area median income of 25 to 60%. So we're serving low to very low income folks in the area. And all of our volunteers, they contribute to providing homes for these folks. We build homes. We repair homes, actually. I'll talk about a couple of repair programs we have going. And then we also, with our Restore, we're recycling a lot of items. So we keep things out of the landfill, thousands of items every year. And, excuse me. That means that students can find, things to decorate their dorm rooms, or maybe homes are getting remodeled and they need to get rid of old fixtures and things like that. We will take those at the restore. Overall, we're just looking to bring our community together and put people into homes.
Okay. Now, if we could segue for just a minute on the restore. So I think a lot of people have probably seen it or heard of it, but it's right on Meridian, like kind of right next to where George Fox is, right before you get across the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
So what is the restore? I think some people kind of have mixed ideas of what it actually is, but
yeah, that is basically a way for people to donate to Habitat for Humanity. So they can donate household items like furniture, appliances, building supplies. There's always a rotating inventory that we have, so it's always changing from week to week. We have dedicated customers who come in. They will be there at 9 a.m. on Thursday morning to see what we've brought in. And, it's a place where people can, do their part in keeping things out of the landfill, but also making a way for people who couldn't afford retail prices for home goods, a way to buy those and make their home beautiful.
So it's kind of like a secondhand store, right? So how does it differ from something like Goodwill or Lucky Finds here in town?
Yeah, so the basic difference is that we will sometimes pick up donations from people, and then also the fact that we are selling at bargain prices. And compared to Goodwill, basically it's just keeping things in the community. Sometimes with those other organizations, they send those items onto other stores and whatnot, and we keep everything in Newberg, in the Newberg area. So
I've been in there a few times. It's basically a huge warehouse with all different kinds of household things, and sometimes things you wouldn't necessarily expect. Like I think I'm trying to remember some of the things I saw, like I guess an air conditioner, that maybe makes sense, but like a wheelchair, like certain things that are like things that you use inside a home, but wouldn't necessarily think of like home remodeling. But basically, so say someone's doing like a kitchen remodel. They've got cabinets that they just don't like. They're not bad. So no use taking them to a dump. People will bring them there so that there's actually like a whole cabinet set that you could get, or like windows that are, old but still functional, or washer and dryers and things like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when the donations come in, we test them to make sure they're working properly. If for some reason something really isn't working properly and somebody takes it, we will give them a refund, of course. We also started this year selling eco paint, which is basically paint that's been recycled, and there's a company that puts an additive back into it to make it good quality paint again. And they have certain shades of paint, so you can rely on it to be available in the future if you do paint a room. Or it's interior and exterior paint, and it's $21 a gallon. So it's a little bit more affordable than what you can find in a hardware store and whatnot.
And what might you be looking at, for a normal gallon of paint?
Price-wise, we sell them for $21 a gallon, and normally they're at least, I think, $28 a gallon right now. Elsewhere. So
that's a good deal. So switching gears back to kind of the housing situation in general. So most people are aware. I mean, specifically, I'm in real estate, so I definitely see the how much people are struggling to afford homes with interest rates, even though right now they're coming back down a little bit. But just in general, home prices are extremely high. Interest rates are, make it really difficult for people to afford a home. A lot of times you need two people making a decent income, or one person making a really good income to be able to afford even like a modest home. So where does Habitat for Humanity fit into all that? I know right now you're working to help about one family per year, build a home. But how does Habitat for Humanity fit into that broader picture of the housing crisis we're facing? Because the other part of that is there's just not enough homes being built. Yeah. There's just not enough affordable housing for the people who want them. Even though we have these, even the homes I live in, like 15 feet wide and 70 feet long, they're just crammed together, but still they're over $400,000.
Yeah.
Right.
So how I'll just talk about our home ownership program in general. So how we price a home is we're going to have a first and a second mortgage. The total price of the home is what we put into the house. So between, building materials, labor, land acquisition costs, all those sorts of things, permits. So the family's income will be taken into account monthly, and they pay 30% of their monthly income towards their mortgage payment. Over a span of 30 years, whatever that mortgage payment totals up to is their first mortgage price. Their second mortgage is going to be the balance of the home's value, basically. And so it's a silent second where once they pay off their first mortgage, their second mortgage just goes away. And we also do a 0% interest mortgage currently. And that means that they are not paying that interest portion that you would normally see with a mortgage payment.
Okay. So that's a really good deal for them. Mm-hmm. So where does the financing come from for Habitat for Humanity for them to be able to do that?
Yeah. So we basically get a lot of in-kind donations. We get grants. We do have some state funding that's 1% interest loan, for example. Oh, wow. That was for land acquisition. And then we have a state program called LIFT, Local Innovation Fast Track. That's through Oregon Housing and Community Services. And for the past few builds, we've been able to secure that, and it pays for land acquisition and infrastructure costs. So that's a major portion of what it costs to build. And then we just raise funds through our Restore. We do have mortgage payments coming in from our folks that do currently own a Habitat home, and we have currently 19 mortgages that are being paid. And then any donations that come in from the public, sometimes they're small monthly donations, and sometimes they're major donors. So we'll have foundations or family trusts decide to donate, sometimes $20,000 or $30,000 at a time. So
okay. Yeah. Now, when you're looking at building a house, you have a lot of volunteers who are helping, and so a lot of those costs are going to be saved, right? Like from a developer, like they have to factor in like all the labor costs and profit margins and all those things. And I don't know what permitting looks like. I'm guessing it's probably fairly similar, but what do you guys see like the cost of a home to be built for one family? Do you know what that number is? Yeah.
So I would say for after the infrastructure costs and land acquisition, each home is going to be in the $120,000 range for us. Because we get a lot of building materials donated. Otherwise, it would be much higher. As far as land acquisition goes, the past couple of lots that we've purchased have been in the like $225,000 to $280,000 range. And we can build a few homes on those, 2 to 3 homes per lot that we purchased. So that's what we're kind of looking at for costs.
Okay. So 120,000 is that's just for the structure itself, like from the time you pour the concrete or?
Yeah. And we are paying a construction supervisor. He watches over the build site, make sure we're in compliance as far as OSHA goes. We have a CCB license, so we stay in compliance that way. Yeah. And then they're supervising the volunteers to make sure they're safe. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It still has to pass code.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Cause that is, thinking, and I don't actually know what the like ground up structure cost is for a home, normally, but do you have any idea of like what the difference is and what you guys do? I know I'm kind of throwing that out.
Yeah. From what I've heard, I believe, the current market rate might be closer to $175 a square foot. And, so we're looking at much less than that for what we do.
Okay. I can't do that math in my head. Do you have any idea what your price is?
No, I don't actually.
No, so you mentioned how people qualify, like the criteria and steps, but imagine, so for one home, how many applicants do you typically get? Like, how does that whole process work?
Well, our previous homes that we built at 1205 East 5th Street, we had quite a few applicants for that. That was finished in 2021. And, I think we had somewhere in the range of 18 or 20 applications. Then we had 2 homes that we're currently building at 717 North College Street. for those 2 single-family homes, we had 29 applicants come in. And then we selected those 2 families. Now we're in the process of selecting 1 family for a 3rd home on College Street. And we received, I think, only 9 applications for that one. Okay. So it was a much lesser pool to draw from.
Interesting. Okay. So what happened to the other 20 people that applied for the other 2?
Well, basically, each time we go through a cycle of the applications, we have to start over again. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Just because people's income changes, their life could change in some dramatic way. Each application cycle, we're going to take fresh applications and start over.
I imagine that must be a really difficult process to go through because, I'm sure many of those are very worthy candidates, and then you have to somehow weed out. So how do you even make that selection? Yeah,
well, we have a family selection committee, and thank God for them, We have 7 people on the committee, and they basically go through the applications. Our office supplies the credit and criminal reports, and we do the income verifications, and then give all the information to the committee. They look through it and determine whether they're meeting our guidelines as far as, if there is a criminal record, what background that person has with that. As far as credit goes, we are looking for decent credit and showing that people do have the ability to pay their bills. They're going to be paying a mortgage to us, for example. Our criteria are their ability to pay, their willingness to partner, and their need. And willingness to partner just means that they are willing to comply with our program guidelines, and that is volunteering 500 hours of their time, either with our restore, in the office, or on the build site. And between them, their friends and family, they have to add up to 500 hours prior to purchasing their home with us. And their need, their level of need is very important because we go into their homes, actually do a home visit, and we look at their living conditions. Are they overcrowded? Do they have 6 people in a 1 or 2 bedroom? Are there health issues or safety issues with their current living situation? We want to, help the people with the most need. And when the committee meets, every time it's such a hard, process they have to go through of weeding out the people that need a home less, because all of these people need a different home for some reason. And, we just get down to it, and we always come out with great families that are motivated to volunteer. They love the Habitat program, and we usually keep in contact with them somewhat after they've even paid off their mortgage. It's just, Habitat kind of becomes a family in this community. So, yeah.
Yeah. I would, as much as it may be rewarding to see the families help, I know I just have a really hard time with, what about all these other families who we can't help?
Yeah.
That must be challenging, but it's kind of necessary. Any grant program or thing like that. It just kind of makes me wonder, I don't know if this is something that you can speak to at all. But, coming back to like the affordable housing crisis, the fact that we have 29 people applying for, 2 homes or 9 for 1, it shows the need that is out there. Does Habitat for Humanity have any other programs, or do you partner with any other organizations to help these other families who, are great candidates, they really need help, it's legitimate, but obviously you can't build 29 homes at the same time?
Well, so other services that we have how we're helping people in other ways are our repair programs. So we do a Brush with Kindness, which is small repairs, usually under $1,500, where the homeowner pays for just the cost of the materials, and then we supply the labor. And then we have our new Healthy Homes program, which is also for homeowners, but is more major repairs. It's a HUD grant that came through Habitat of Oregon. And that program will help people with re-siding their home, or if they're disabled and they need, say, grab bars or an ADA bathtub or shower situation. We can go in and help up to about $15,000 is the SED cap. And we also have, we consider our Restore a way to help the community as well, because, that gives people a more affordable way to, bring in furnishings to their home and new to them appliances. I would say we can direct them to programs with the housing authority as far as weatherization goes. So, if they have a landlord that can't afford to get repairs done, YCAP can sometimes help people with weatherization, or, if they need help with rent or security deposits, those are local programs out there that we can direct them to.
Okay. So the Brush with Kindness, and what was the second name?
Healthy Homes.
Healthy Homes. Yeah. So that would be for someone who they own their own home, right?
Correct.
But maybe they've been there for 30 years and their roof really needs to be repaired, but they don't have $30,000 or $20,000, whatever it might cost to fix it. Is that the kind of thing? I mean, I guess it'd have to stay under $15,000 though.
Yeah. There is a cap of $15,000, but, if there is a demonstrated need, then the grant is willing to consider exceptions to that. Okay. We just haven't run into those yet. We just started the program in May. So we've gotten our first 2, projects approved recently, and we're going to start work on those. We have to do a full housing assessment, with those, where we meet with the homeowner and we walk through the whole home, to see what needs they might have, whether that's HVAC, a leaky roof, maybe an entry is unsafe or something like that. We try to take care of all the health and safety issues that we can see. If there are too many, we do have to prioritize to keep it within budget.
Would mold be something that, like, if they've got mold in the home, is that something that can qualify?
Yes. We can handle that. We can hire other contractors under this grant, so it does pay for labor and materials. But the thing that people have to understand with the Healthy Homes program is it takes about 30 to 45 days to push it through the approval process. So if it is an emergency, if they're living with mold and they're having health issues, then we might not be fast enough to help them.
Okay. So what does that program look like in terms of, like, how many applicants there are and how many projects you can do in a year and that kind of thing?
So basically, we're just trying to spread the word about it still. We've had, I believe, 6 home assessments done, and these are all people who heard about the program maybe through word of mouth, or were referred from, like, YCAP or the Housing Authority. And, it's just something that we're still trying to grow. So I am trying to spread the word about it. But we can take, I believe, within the grant program, it has another 2 or 3 years on it. And they said, I think up to 12 repairs per affiliate, or 12 projects, which could, mean a handful of repairs per project. So.
Okay. So 12 projects per the 3-year grant. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. And what about, so you mentioned for people who, like, have housing needs. Now, some of these are people who own homes and just need something different. Some people are, like, living in an apartment or, like, rental situations and really just want to have home ownership, right? Mm-hmm. Actually, the one thing I just thought about, what happens if someone wants to sell, like, they're moving and they want to sell the home? How does that whole process work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when somebody wants to sell the home, if they have not yet paid off their mortgage with us, there is a first right of refusal. So we have the right to buy the home back for the amount of principal that they paid into it. So, you have your principal and your escrow payment with your mortgage each month, and whatever they put down in principal, we can give back to them. So that might be $20,000 or $30,000. If they have paid off their home, then they are free to sell it. Okay. Since we took on LIFT funding, which that first project was completed in 2021, all of the building projects we've had since then have a deed restriction to where they can only resell to a home buyer who is under 80% of area median income, AMI. So there is a restriction to keep it within the permanent affordable housing stock. Yeah.
That seems good.
Yeah.
Because otherwise these homes would just, on the open market. So have you had that happen where someone has, like, they've paid off their home and they're selling it? But what does that look like on the market where, like, you have to have, if you're under 80% of the median income, it's going to be really hard to afford any other home, right? So how does the market determine like the value of the homes?
So we do, with those that have the permanent affordability clause in their deed, there is an affordable base price is what it's called, where the home price is put at what an average family at 80% of AMI could afford.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's based upon that.
Okay. Do you have like bidding? I would imagine there'd still be bidding wars at that.
Well, we haven't had to deal with it yet,
Sure,
to be
okay.
honest, because we just started that restriction in 2021. So all those folks are still in their homes.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, but that is something that across the state, people are doing that with affordable housing. So I think you'll see some examples coming down the line in the coming years. So,
Okay.
yeah.
You mentioned the types of families that have gone through the program. Do you have any examples? You don't have to use like specific names and stuff, but like a specific family who has, really benefited from the program that you're just like, oh my gosh, this is why I love what I do.
Yeah, definitely. The first family that came to mind, they owned their home in Newberg since 2006. And they paid off their mortgage early a couple years ago. And we saw, their kids were getting scholarships and going to college. And we've seen several Habitat families where they haven't had anybody in their family go to college before. And now these families are able to send their kids to college because they can afford, they've been able to save up. They've been able to have a steady mortgage payment. And then as their pay increases, they're able to save more. And then they're able to do more with that. We've had some, pay off their mortgage early and then be able to sell the home. And then, that wealth stays in the family somehow so that they can pass it down from generation to generation. We had one woman she was a single mom. And after she bought her Habitat home, she ended up going back to college to train so she could get higher pay in her job. We've had families who were sharing homes with say their extended family or friends. And then once they had a Habitat home of their own, their kids are doing better in school. Just the stability of the home life is better. And overall, you see with Habitat homes where once the kids in these families have a permanent place to stay, they're able to do better in school. As any teacher might tell you, the better home life a child has, the more successful they're going to be in their education. And then also, we've seen people come from small rental properties where they couldn't control the price of their rent or whether the property was going to be sold. And they were able to just plant roots and make sure that they were going to stay in their community longer. So,
yeah. No, that's exciting. It's nice to have those stories of people who really have been impacted and changed, especially when it does seem like there's such a harsh, home buying landscape right now, that there are people who, there are programs, even if you can't help everyone, the people that you can help, that fact that it makes a positive difference, is great. Now we've talked about several things about Habitat and what it is. I'm sure there's probably things you've heard over the, years that you've been there. Or how long have you been with Habitat now? Actually, has it been?
Well, I stepped into the executive director roles in June 2023. I was on the board.
Just over a year now.
Yeah.
As the executive director. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you said were you on the board?
I was on the board since 2017.
Okay.
Before that, and then I was on committees off and on since 2009, building committee and then family selection committee.
Okay, so you've been for like 15 years, like affiliated with Habitat. Okay,
love it.
I'm sure over the years you've heard a lot of different things that people think Habitat humanity is. So what are like misconceptions that you could clear up that some people have? Yeah,
definitely. The biggest one is that we give away homes. There is that misperception out there. People just think that we aren't selling the homes, that we actually just get donations and then we can actually hand a family a home. But that is not the case. And then I would say another one might be as far as like we get some discriminatory comments about some of our homeowners as far as their minority status and whatnot. So I would say, we're helping everybody. We're helping a broad range of people, and you'll see that within the Habitat homeowners demographics. So, it's just a program that generally just tries to help people build wealth, over and change the course of their families' lives generationally. The kids are going to do better in life, just because they have a little bit softer padding to land on, So.
Yeah. Can you speak to why, because I'm sure it's very intentional, why you're not actually giving away homes, why it's important for them to have a stake in it, to pay 30% of the income, to have to volunteer 500 hours. Why is that important rather than just giving the homes away?
Yeah, that is crucial, actually, because it gives the family an investment in their own home. So when they're out at a build site working next to volunteers that are working on their home, they, number one, build that community relationship, but then they, like right now we have 2 different homeowners and they're working on each other's houses. So they're like bonding and they'll be neighbors. It creates more of a goodwill atmosphere. And just that investment keeps people committed to right where they live, but also within their community. So we have one family where the husband and wife, they love doing things for Habitat, but they have the bug to volunteer. And wherever they go, they brag about not only Habitat, but any volunteer experience that they have in this community. So it's just creating that like give back mode, I guess, which is so cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure having an investment where like if it's just given to you, I don't think you value it
Correct.
as much because you're all in like work and sure, you're paying a lot less than maybe what market rate is, but 30% of your income still feels significant.
Yeah.
And it's when it's something that you're actually investing into, I'm sure they come to appreciate it a lot more. Mm-hmm. One of the other questions just has to do with like, what's next for Habitat for Humanity? I know you mentioned a huge thing is like trying to get land acquisition and you're kind of limited by that, but what would you like to see, or what are some of the goals around, what the future looks like?
Yeah, so we actually just finished this last month our 3-year strategic plan with the help of a consultant. We got a grant to help us do that. And so Habitat International paid for a consultant to come in, and over a series of about 4 months, we did stakeholder interviews. We did internal interviews with our key volunteers and our staff. Got a feel for exactly where everybody sees our organization right now. And then, including most of our stakeholders who have not volunteered at all with Habitat or been really involved, but they're important people in our community that we needed to hear from how they perceived Habitat. And then, through that plan, we developed a series of goals. And one of those is to, within 3 years, be building 4 homes per year. Okay. So we're definitely currently building capacity to do that, whether that's with staff, additional volunteers, and funding. We're just trying to grow our ability so that way, we can help more families, because that was one of the things we pulled out of our stakeholder interviews. Everybody was like, why aren't you doing more? Why aren't you doing more? And we have limitations, and our biggest needs are, of course, funding, but mainly volunteers. So hands to do the work. So that I would say is our biggest need from our community, is to maybe take a day here and there, maybe even once a month, to volunteer in our restore and our build site. When we're not having contractors do specialized work such as sheetrock or insulation, we're having people do all the framing, maybe putting on doors, windows, the fixtures inside the home. So we need help from people to do that. We also have office positions, including we need marketing and web help. So these are things that we need to accomplish those goals. And so part of my goal as executive director is to find the right people to fill those spots. And then, of course, with donations, we're not just looking for our major donors. We're looking for a good base of small donations. So we have some people donating like $10 a month or something like that. Some people just donate once a year, maybe like $200. anything like that just helps our mission move forward. We have a good diversity of where we pull in revenue. So whether that's grants, loans, donations, or the restore. And so we just want to kind of beef up that donation side of things.
Yeah. So right now you're going from one project, or I guess now you're building 2 homes. Is it 2?
We're currently building 2 homes. Yeah. That should be done by the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now you're on pace for like 2 homes a year, and then that'll go to 3 and then 4 by the end of 3 years.
That's what we're hoping.
Okay.
That's our goal. It will happen.
Well, and I guess that one of the other things is just for people to keep in mind that if you have household items, that, rather than going to Goodwill, which is Goodwill's now a for-profit organization, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think I could be wrong, but I thought that they had changed over, their model. So maybe don't quote me on that, but having something that is local to the area, and maybe people don't think about, like, if you have if you're doing a remodel, if the stuff you're taking out works, like a vanity in a bathroom, then you can actually donate that, or potentially even have it come picked up.
Yeah. Which
one saves you a dump run cost. And then you're also helping the community. So it's kind of a double win. And that could be significant because, if you donate it, then someone picks that up, for like, I don't know, $100, depending on what the item might be, $200.
Well, we actually don't charge a pickup fee. So
I mean, like, if like someone comes in and then buys that, it's kind of an effective way. Like, you donating to Restore is kind of like a donation, where then you get the proceeds from that sale, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So then one of the other things is, you're looking for volunteers. I think you explained a lot of, kind of like what you're looking for. Are there like qualifications that people need, like, to volunteer, or?
We actually don't require any experience. So whatever somebody comes in with skill wise, we will just give them a place to use that. So for example, at our Restore, even if somebody has like a physical disability, we can give them a role in our Restore. If somebody, can't, operate a saw at the build site, we're going to just give them a hammer and tell you where to put the nails into the wood. So, whatever skill level somebody has, we do value our retired workers who are very skilled in a trade. They've been very handy, plumbing, electrical, that sort of thing. And our current build site volunteers, they have told us that they average the age of 70. And so they would love to have maybe the younger generation, possibly students, come in and just help bring their new energy. And so that's kind of what we're looking for this fall. We're talking with George Fox about connecting with the Helper app. And we have a couple board members who work at George Fox, and they're going to connect us with them. Okay. And then of course we just need that marketing and web work. We're way behind the times with that.
That's a tough one to stay on top of. Even personally, it's like, with all the tech stuff I do, it's hard to stay on top of everything.
Yeah.
And now I know we talked about the homes being built on College Street. Are there any other upcoming like projects or things that you're excited about?
Yeah. So we have those 3 single family homes at 717 North College on the front section of that property. It was divided into 2 by the owners of it, Dr. Holbeck, who had the veterinary clinic there for years. And he sold us last year the back part of that. So after we move from 717 College, we're going to 1201 East 5th Street on the south side of town to build 2 homes. And then we're going to come back to 717 North College and build probably 4 more homes on that back portion. And then after that, we've got a more major project in Dundee coming up. It's going to be called Dundee Commons, and it's a multi-use project, building project where the bottom floor will be leased commercially to Head Start of Yamhill County. Okay. So that's early childhood development. And First United Methodist Church owns the lot where we're going to be building the structure. And we'll have 4 Habitat homes on the 2nd and 3rd floors above that. So we're in the fundraising point of that journey. And it looks like it will be a very positive thing for the community, just bringing residential home ownership, low-income home ownership, combining that with the early childhood development. So it should be a great resource for the community.
Where is that?
So that's going to be on the corner of 11th and Highway 99. There's currently a church. The church is staying there. So we'll be building right next to that. So currently there's an old house that's there, and that will be taken out, and then we'll put in this.
It's like the old red house. Am I thinking of the right spot?
I don't know what color it is offhand.
Okay. There's a big lot over there. Well, that's exciting. That'll be. What is that going to be? I guess
we're looking at a couple years of fundraising because it's more significant than anything that we've done financially. So, but we are actually in talks with one developer that might be willing to work with us on a future project. If we can't work with them right now, we're talking about possibilities. But then there is a property that is for sale that they approached us about possibly having Habitat purchase it for a decent price. So that way it would be a larger scale project for us. If we can work out the logistics, that could possibly be purchased this year. And then we've had a couple of others approach us, and we're in quote unquote talks. Yeah.
It'd be really cool to see, this kind of thing. I know affordable housing is always just a major topic, just because, we have such a short supply. So one, it's amazing the work that Habitat for Humanity does. And I know you're kind of always in the thick of that. I'm sure right in the middle of all that. Despite all the negative side of things with home prices and interest rates and all that, what gives you hope as you continue this work to, that the future of Newberg is going to be a good one?
Yeah, well, I have been in Newberg or around Newberg for a long time. I first moved to Dundee in 1992. I graduated from high school in 95, and I was gone for about 5 years from 97 to 2002, and then just moved away again in 2022. But over that span of time, I've seen Newberg grow, and despite the difficulties among the community, we still have this strong bond of volunteerism. And I feel like when we meet at that level, when we are all coming together to serve in some way, and we see that we're helping local families like day after day, I think that gives me hope. Like, I think that's where we're going to all come back together, And so really, there's so many people to help. And as we progress through the coming years and we figure out how to deal with this affordable housing crisis, and we can personally as an organization, increase our capacity. Other developers are coming in and trying to do affordable housing as long as codes allow, that kind of thing, and funding. We're all trying to make it a more livable place for people. We all are understanding that there is this issue that we need to take care of.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's always things to be hopeful for despite everything else. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for, on behalf of Habitat for Humanity, what they do. It is an amazing organization. It's great to have them here. It's awesome that, families can be helped in that way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. And look forward to getting this message out. If you are a listener, please do consider checking out Habitat for Humanity. Go to the Restore, drop off your stuff there, and consider supporting them.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Givingtown podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend who you think might benefit from hearing it. While more and more people are continuing to hear about this podcast, I still need your help to spread the message about all the people and organizations that make Newberg so great. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next episode.